My friend Joe was enrolled in mortuary school, and he desperately wanted a full-time job at this funeral home where he was trained. So one of the town's most respected patriarchs had passed away, and the funeral was going to be one of the largest in the town. And Joe really wanted to impress the owner of the funeral home. So he made sure every detail was covered, okay? No pun intended. Joe was really nervous about this big day, and he believed his whole future hinged on this funeral. And he really wanted things to go well. And he went up to the gentleman who owned the funeral home and he said, "I want a job." And the guy said, "I'm watching you, making sure you do everything right. And if you do, I'll hire you. Make sure it's excellent." So, boy, Joe was determined to do that. I mean, he went above and beyond. He bought a new suit. He had a new hairdo. I mean, white, starched shirt. Just looked great. Looked just like you would for an absolute professional funeral home guy. The service was super solemn, as you can imagine. And it concluded with Baptist Church soloists singing the classic hymn, "It Is Well With My Soul." So Joe was so nervous, and he's tiptoeing around the grave, and all of a sudden his foot gets stuck in that astroturf, okay? All of a sudden he tumbles to the bottom of this grave, and it's red Georgia clay like you've never seen. He's covered in mud, and he realized he probably ruined the biggest funeral in the history of the county and buried literally any chance of him being employed by this funeral home. He was so embarrassed. I said, "Joe, were you red clay faced?" He said, "Oh yeah, I was red clay faced." So he was hoisted up out of the grave by his colleagues. Well, the soloist is singing, it is well with my soul." Suddenly, Joe had a thought. The song inspired him. So he walks over and he kneels down by the grieving widow. He grabs her hand, dripping in that red Georgia clay. He looks straight into her face and says, "At this funeral home, we are professionals. I have inspected everything, even the bottom of that grave. And I want you to know all is well with that hole." And guess what? He got the job. He got the job. So how we handle things at work, just huge. Well, I hope you enjoyed that little comedy bit. And I cannot wait for you all to meet my very creative, very funny friend who believes in the power of humor in any stage of life he's in, Jeff Slutsky. You're going to love it. Oh, this is going to be super fun. You know, as I've been developing this front porch show, I'll have to be honest and admit I'm bringing in some people that I love, and I hear myself talk about a bunch. And there's a gentleman who I met through our National Association for Professional Speakers. And the first thing that I realized was how funny, incredibly creative he is. He's had lots of roller coaster rides in his life, but he manages to keep his sense of humor. And that's my good friend, Jeff Slutsky. And I called him up. I said, "Hey, Jeff, you know, I'm loving this little show. It's on StreamYard, and I would love for you to be on it and share some of your incredible." He's such a smart guy, and I think he's got 28 kids. But other than that, I'm going to bring him in because he's just too good to keep out. So I'm going to unmute and bring in my good buddy.
Hello.
Yay! How are you, sugar?
I'm exhausted.
Are you?
Yes. It's not 28 kids. It's only 6.
Oh, that's
don't exaggerate. I mean, 6 is plenty. So,
you got a little football team coming up? You got
I have 18-year-old triplets, so that's been a handful.
Gosh,
that's half of them right there.
Are you a grandfather yet?
No, Though, my wife is a little bit younger than me, and the kids are younger. I got 2 older ones, and it's funny. Every once in a while, I'll take the kids out somewhere, and they go, "Oh, are these your grandkids?" So that person doesn't get a very good tip.
I do love that. Jeff, one of the funniest stories I remember you're telling at NSA on the main stage. Weren't you on the main stage at NSA?
I think so, yeah.
You should, yeah,
One
absolutely.
of them, yeah.
But everybody is. This is a lot of Jeannie's followers. They love her, but they
Mhm.
love humor too. So, can you please tell that? Can you call that a signature story that you have? Because I can't tell it. I don't have the right equipment.
Well, well, what happened was I was booked to do a program for the Sony Corporation. You probably heard of them. It was booked 6 months in advance. I was very excited. I was also booked through a major speaker bureau. So it was the first time that bureau booked me. So I thought, great, big corporation plus a big bureau. This is going to spin off to a ton of business. It was booked 6 months in advance. I was very excited. It was going to be a Monday morning kickoff. The whole thing was, my theme is Street Fighter marketing, and they
I
were
love
doing the
that.
whole, and they were doing the whole thing, taking it to the streets, the Doobie Brothers song, and they're giving everybody a copy of my book. I mean, this was like a dream come true kind of gig, right? So Monday morning rolls around. About 2 in the morning, I get a phone call desperately from my brother Mark, my business partner. Says, "What are you doing in Columbus?" I go, "I live here. What's your problem?" "You're just supposed to be in Marco Island. You have a gig at 7 o'clock this morning." No, I don't. It's next Monday. He goes, "Go look at your calendar." And he's screaming and yelling. I look at my calendar and my heart stops. I don't know how I did it, but for some reason I spaced it. And here I am in Columbus, Ohio, at 9 o'clock is when I'm supposed to be on stage in Marco Island, Florida. Call the client up. He's practically in tears. And boss is going to fire me. The whole theme's based on street fighting. What are we going to do? I said, okay, let me see what I can do. So I grabbed, this is, before the internet pretty much. So I grabbed the yellow pages. Remember those? It was a big book. It had a bunch of pages. They were all yellow. Anyway, so I'm looking up charter flights to see if there's any possible way I could get down there in the next 7 hours. And this is like 2:30 in the morning, and I'm dialing all these charter companies, and nobody's answering. Finally, about the 10th try, somebody answers. It's an air ambulance service. I said, "I have a medical emergency. I need to be in Marco Island by 9 o'clock this morning." "Well, what's the nature of your emergency, sir?" "Well, if I don't get down there by 9 o'clock, a guy down there is going to kill me." He goes, "Well, do you have a major credit card?" I said, "I got all of them. What do you need?" Well, it turns out they had these Learjet ambulances on 30-minute standby at different cities throughout the country, and the closest to Columbus was Detroit. So I ordered the thing. I said, fine. And they said we could be there within the hour. So, and it's a package deal. It comes with a pilot, a co-pilot, and a registered nurse. I didn't care. So I run to the office. I get my books and my videos and a 2-liter bottle of Diet Coke out of the fridge because I drink one of those a day to kind of calm my nerves. And I rush off to the private airport, waiting for my jet. And so I have maybe 20 minutes before it's due to land. And I'm pacing back and forth in a little waiting room, and it's about 3:30 now, so there's nobody around. And I'm drinking my 2-liter bottle of Diet Coke. There's no cups or anything, so it's right out of the 2-liter bottle. And I'm thinking to myself, and I have all these friends who are motivational speakers, so they taught me to give positive affirmations. And I'm drinking 2 liters of bottle of Diet Coke and thinking, "You idiot, you stupid, you dummy, you could ruin your career." So that obviously didn't work. And within about 15, 20 minutes, I actually drank the entire 2-liter bottle. So with caffeine. So right now, I don't even think I need a plane. I could just fly there myself. Anyway, plane lands. I hop on board. We take off. 15 minutes into flight, we're climbing through about, 20,000 feet. And I just realized I drank a 2-liter bottle of Diet Coke. Well, it's a tiny little jet, about the size of like a stretch limo. And it has just about everything you could imagine, except one thing. There's no bathroom. They don't expect their normal clientele to get up and go. And so I'm already in pain. It's not like at 42,000 feet, I can just roll down the window. So the nurse sees what's going on and says, "I have a solution to your problem." I go, "What is it?" "Catheterization." I said, "Hold on. Hold on just a second. We'll call that one plan B." And I crawl up to the pilot and co-pilot and say, "What do you guys do on a long flight?" Well, the co-pilot had packed himself a sack lunch. He opens it up and he pulls out these carrot sticks in a Glad plastic bag with a Ziploc top, empties the carrots out, hands me this baggie, and with what had to be the most serious face I've ever seen in my life, says, "When you're done, make sure the strip at the top turns green." So that worked great. And then we land there. It's just a 90-minute flight straight down there. And I get there like 2 hours ahead of time. I'm getting ready to leave. Pilot says, "Well, how long are you going to be?" I said, "Well, keynote speech, I got a breakout session. I'll sign some books, answer some questions. I'll be done by noon. I said, well, wait, because when you buy a flight like that, you got to buy it round trip anyway. So
Oh
that was
my
great.
gosh.
So, but the thing was, I get the bill like on the way back, halfway back, they show me my invoice. And because I was not a medical emergency, they reclassified me as a standard passenger. So they tack on another 10% excise tax on it. And you can imagine I didn't make the margin I wanted to in that particular speech. But the funny thing was, because I showed up and because I was able to get there anyway, even though it cost me a ton of money, the people at Sony kept talking about it to a lot of other people. And they called me back a bunch of times, and the Bureau called me back a bunch of times. And it the word got out. So it actually paid for itself at least tenfold that I'm aware of. So I guess the lesson to the story that I tell in my speech, aside from the pain that had happened at the time, was that it always pays to take care of your customers no matter what it takes.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I love that. I remember when you got to that funny line of, remember, yellow and blue make green.
Mm-hmm.
Golly, that had to have been, I cannot imagine the stress of that.
It was. But it's funny because at the time, it was panic, and I was just trying to get there. I didn't care what it cost. It was my obligation to be there. I mean, there's a whole audience waiting for me. On the way back, as I was flying back, it occurred to me, this is going to be a funny story someday.
Yes.
I said, just think about what you just did. You just spent maybe 5 times what you normally get paid for a speech to charter a jet to make a thing, because you screwed up. That's the first thing I did, is I admitted my mistake. And then I started to craft how I would present the information. And what I talked about was exactly true, but you sort of massage it a little bit and get the words right. And, you got to bring the word catheterization right at the right time to get the laugh. And I can pretty much predict when the audience is going to laugh on that one. But it's based on a personal experience of mine, which is the best kind of humor to use, because 1, it's mine, and 2, it's hard for someone else to tell that story.
That's true, especially me when I tried to tell it.
Yeah, because I don't think the baggie would work for you.
No, it would not work. That's funny you say that, because we have my parents' home down in Charleston, and we rent it. And I actually told the story yesterday. I spoke to some women not too far from here, which made it nice not to have to fly or charter a jet. But I told the story about when I got a call from a renter, and she had that smoker voice, that gravelly smoker voice, scares you to death. Like, I don't smoke cigarettes that have any filters. Like, this woman's tough, Southern chick. And when I knew it was her, first thing she said was, "This Jane Hurlong?" I went, "Yes." And my voice goes an octave up. She said, "You got bed bugs." I went, "What?" I mean, I was about to die. And she scared me so badly, Jeff. Had she said, "You got a dinosaur sitting in your den," I'd go, "Okay," And so immediately she sends me a picture of her backside, and there's some things you cannot unsee. And just bites everywhere. And she said, "Now, I bet you don't want me to write you a bad review." Well, you know what that meant. Refund. Well, on top of that, I go into a full-fledged panic, and it is customer service, although you get hoodooed. And like you said, after the whole thing was over, and I'm getting in the car, and Thomas is laid back going, "Just squish him." Like, what? And watching Steve Harvey and laughing, and I got to go to Charleston, So, and the drive down there, I said, "Call your sister-in-law." And this is where the girlfriend brigade comes in. She said, "Well, she doesn't know anything about bed bugs." I said, "By the time I get there, she'll have everything lined up." And she did. I had an exterminator. I had my good old boy friend, Glenn, bless his heart. He's got 1 toe and 1 leg, but he's got a truck. So that was the most important part of the whole thing. He's the kind of boy in the South, and they say, "Son, if you don't quit drinking all that liquor and all that red meat, you're going to lose your leg." And he says, "Oh, hell, just take it." So that's the kind of, but he had a truck.
I got another one. They come with 2. It's okay.
Oh, yeah. So we're going up the stairs with the mattress. I'm jetting ahead a little bit. And he says, it was August. He said, "I got to stop." I said, "No, you don't. I've got the heavy end. You can't stop." He said, I said, "Give me one good reason." He said, "My stub is sweaty." I went, "Lord, Glenn." I could have gone my whole life. But what was the funniest part, that I called a friend of mine when I got there, the friend I didn't want to call because she overfunctions and overthinks, and they make you real stressed out. But she knows how to handle things. So I called her at 11, my friend Nancy, 11 p.m., and I hear, "What?" I said, "Nancy, I got bed bugs." She said, "Where are you?" I said, "Ground zero." She said, "You going to listen to me? I know about bed bugs." She said, "First of all, take off all your clothes." And I said, "What?" She said, "Take off your clothes. They'll jump on your fabric. They'll have babies and they'll jump off like COVID, and people won't realize they got it till later. Like you don't know you got it." And I said, "All right." And I said, "What's the next thing?" She said, "Get some alcohol." I said, "Nancy, the last time I had no clothes on and there was alcohol involved, I got pregnant." But but I tell that story because, and it's the truth. I mean, we do kind of fluff it up a little bit, but those are the kinds of stories. There really are stories that people can understand about being in a panic. And what do you
Mm-hmm.
do when you've got an obligation to others? That I love that story. I think that is a great story to tell because my stuff anymore. I have a funny and then a takeaway.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about a little bit about Jeannie, and I know you knew Jeannie. And can you tell everybody some of your favorite memories or what Jeannie might have taught you through watching her perform?
I remember when I first was starting out and trying to use some humor in my presentation, and was doing a workshop, and it was a humor workshop. So she was on the dais with Carl Hurley and a few other humorists, and she was talking about developing original humor and how you take a story, and when you're trying to present it and it's got a point, there's like different ways to use experiences to develop a routine that you can use from the platform. And you could tell the story exactly how it was, or you could tell the story how it was, sorta, which means you elaborate. And then you can also tell the story based on what happened, but also what could have happened. So you can use some poetic license to make the story more interesting and funnier, as long as the elements are accurate and the lesson is there. So once I learned that, yeah, I could fluff it up a little bit and bring in a few more elements that I thought could have been there, but maybe weren't, but it makes it for a much funnier story. And as a result, you're more effective from the platform and getting your point across. That started to move things ahead for me quite a bit when I started to develop my own material.
Yeah, it's true. She could take. I had Jason Hewlett was on. Jason, he is so talented. What Jason said, that they would share the platform a lot, and here he'd be working for this company. Had absolutely. I mean, everybody always says, like, when I spoke to healthcare, what do you have to say? Well, I don't talk about healthcare. Come on, I do my thing and it works for them. But they'd say, like Jason said, "Jeannie," and this is what clicked with him, "but aren't you speaking for the National Association of Contractors?" She said, "They need to laugh." He said, "That's true." And then, "Aren't you doing the Association for Plumbers of America?" I'm making this up. She said, "Oh, yeah, they got to have a sense of humor." But, she just kept, that was her umbrella. And I'm telling you, Jeff, and I know she never deviated from that one single message. Find the humor. It's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I love
Well,
that.
well, I would take an example or a story that I would use across industries. So whether it was the restaurant industry or the automotive industry or the healthcare, whatever, and I'd ask the client, give me 2 or 3 terms, jargon, something inside terminology that you guys use so that I understand what it means. So I could sneak it in into my talk just the right way. So at least it'll give the impression I know what I'm talking about as it relates to the audience. So I was doing this big project for Firestone in Vegas, and it's like 2,000 dealers in the audience. And I'm talking about some sort of sales thing. And I said, well, say a guy's coming to your store and he wants to get a price on a set of P225 ZR16s. I memorized my tire size. I have no idea what that means. And I rattled that off, and then I said, then I had to stop. I go, guys, I memorized that just for you to be impressed. And they got a bigger laugh out of that, But the fact that I went to the trouble of memorizing my tire size for them, I thought that they got a kick out of it.
I love that. I absolutely do. That's smart. So you asked the meeting plan, give me a couple of bullets. Oh, I do love that. Man, that's really smart.
We were doing the original, when I was doing Wizard of Sales, the pilot we did in New York City for
awesome.
For a real estate organization at the Marriott there, which is on Broadway. So I could say it was on Broadway, but technically it's not a Broadway show. Anyway, so in my research, they were talking about, they use the term a lot, force majeure. So I used that term in the lyrics and had to rhyme it in one of the songs. And of course, once it's an inside joke to them, it wouldn't have worked in a lot of other places, but they got a big laugh out of it because it was worked into the lyrics.
Well, that brings all the parodies. Good grief. You wrote one for me, and I remember you saying, you have a pageant song that you like to sing? And I said, yeah. You said, well, I tell you what, I've got a good song now. It's time for you to move on. And I tell this when I sing the song. It's time for you to realize now you're a professional speaker. You're not the beauty queen anymore. And you were right. And you gave me great advice. And you said, I'm going to send you from the Phantom of the Opera, Music of the Night, but we're going to change it to I'm the keynote speaker of the night. And the biggest laugh I get is people eating chicken left and right, for I'm the keynote speaker of the night. And I love that. On the edges of their chairs, astonished. I changed it. You said,
okay.
On the edges of their chairs, I put astonished looks. That's when I start to sell my books.
Perfect.
But the original lyric was, on the edges of their chairs, their mouths
agape. It's when I start to sell my tapes, but nobody sells tapes anymore, so it wouldn't work. So you got to update.
Yes, so I want you to talk about Bristol Myers. I've still got that VHS from Bristol Myers you sent me. That was brilliant.
I was hired by Bristol Myers Squibb, pharmaceutical company. They were having an event, 50 cardiologists and spouses, to promote 4 different drugs that they were wanting them to use. And one was a hypertension drug. Let's see, Avapro. I still remember some.
It was Avapro.
Avapro, and there was a new drug for diabetes that you didn't have to. The first time they came out with a pill, kind of like a metformin, an oral pill or drug where you didn't have to take an injection. And they wanted me to write a show, and so I put together the entertainment that night. Now, usually they have to have a lecture for at least a half an hour in order for that event to be considered legal or to write it off for whatever reason. They have to learn something at these events. It can't be just pure entertainment. Well, I took 8 songs from The Sound of Music, rewrote the lyrics specifically about being in the health community, healthcare, and in some specifics about the drugs themselves. And I did all the research looking at all the inserts in the boxes that come with the drugs, and learn what some of the problems are, what it solves, and so forth. And wrote 8 songs. And so I brought in LaDonna Gatlin and Steve Rizzo. And so LaDonna would do her normal singing thing, the baby sister of the Gatlin brothers. And then Steve would do his humor thing on stage. And then the grand finale was this 20-minute, 8 songs from The Sound of Music but all the lyrics were rewritten. And I think my brother Mark, I had a gig somewhere else, and my brother Mark had to MC. And they got 2 standing ovations in the middle of the show, which was great. And of course I missed it. But it was funny. And the thing was, they ran my lyrics, the show, past their legal departments, and you don't need to have a lecture. The lyrics are so accurate in what they talk about, the actual indications of these pharmaceuticals. We don't have to have a doctor give a lecture at it. So that's pretty
cool. So correct me if I'm wrong, because I've shared what I heard on the VHS so many times, and talk about how brilliant you are with doing parodies. I don't know, you have a part of your brain that really is amazing in that area. Some
people would consider it warped, but go ahead.
You consider it what?
Warped.
Well, it's a little bit. I get that. But all right, now correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to sing one. I'm 116 over 217. My heart's about to blow. Receptor blocker for your TikToker. Baby, take GABA Pro.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is that it?
Except it was you're 216 over 117. Your
Okay.
heart's about to blow. So yes, it's that song from
Sound of Music.
Sound of Music, but instead of 16, you're 16 going on 17, which is the original, and I just did it by 100 for the indication. But Avapro was the drug we were promoting there. Yeah. The other one was let's see. No more injections for type 2 diabetes. Aid circulation in your hands and your feeties. Give up the needle. It's not a mirage. When I prescribe just for you, glucophage. And so again, that was right. Funny. That was right out of the literature they gave me. And somehow I even rhymed I forget how it went, but I rhymed the word myocardial infarction somehow for them. And then the halls are alive with the sounds of mucus.
That was funny. And then there is a chart with a man with a goiter.
We're picking at his rear. Picking at his rear because a hemorrhoiders. Yeah. So it really went well. But the thing is, it was fun. They were entertained, but they actually learned what the client wanted to learn about those drugs. If you get a lecture from a doctor who's not a professional speaker, talking about this stuff with a bad PowerPoint, you're not going to remember any of that stuff.
No,
the spouses who were not physicians there remembered the stuff about those particular drugs. So it's a powerful tool. I mean, I think parody done right is a powerful learning tool.
I absolutely agree. I know that when I had that speaking engagement with all those national FFA kids, and I'm thinking, what in the world? Because I sing, what can I do? And then Caroline said, Mama, Frozen is so popular. And she said, why don't you write this, do a parody with Let It Go? And because everybody loves that song, because it does make you feel like, well, maybe I don't need to stress about that or this. And then I started writing it and I thought, what am I thinking? Jeff can do this. And I'm telling you, no sooner did I send it, I thought I sent it to myself. It came back so fast. And don't be in doubt, just let them see the great something. That's not it. Wait a minute. I'll have to think about be real with Seal, let it show. Well, something. You can grow. I'm off beat. I'm really flat, but it was so funny. Don't be in doubt, just let them see.
I could never remember my lyrics unless I write them down.
Yeah, well, I've got them written down, but
from
the ground we'll make our stay. You can grow. That's why we have FFA. You'll stand tall when the rains won't fall.
The original parody I did for that song, by the way, was for Moms of Multiples in Columbus, Ohio, of which we were members since we have triplets. And at that time, that was the popular song. And the kids would play it so often, the moms would complain constantly, I hate that song. I've heard it 5 million times. I hate that song. So I figured if I'm going to do a song, and their other complaint was because of triplets or multiples, some of them had more than 3, they never had any intimate time with their spouses, and they complained that went by the wayside. So they hate the song and they don't have intimate time. So I put the two together. So it was a little racy, but for this audience, it was perfect. And it's called Let It Grow. And it was all about, the time is right in the bedroom tonight, whatever, about the kids are going away to grandma's and we have some time together. And it's on YouTube. You can see it. And I hired a singer from New York City, who's her mom's, who is a Broadway actress, and her daughter has got a tremendous voice. And she had done the song for real. I said, "Hey, I got different lyrics for you." And there's a video of her singing it in the studio.
Wow! It's on funny. YouTube.
On YouTube, yeah. Just look up Frozen parody Slutsky, and it'll pop up. And Julian is the singer, and she was just fantastic at it. And the lyrics were based on all the complaints and concerns that what would be the audience had about what it's like to raise multiples, during the time of Frozen being the number one song. So,
That I love. And then for the national speakers that time, we did the whole foundation night was NSA Gets Greased from Greece.
Right.
And I was very privileged this past year. We had comedy night and I sang Hopelessly Devalued for You instead of Hopelessly Devoted. It's about a speaker that can't get work and they just need to lower their fee. And everybody went nuts. And of course, Patrick was there. Everybody remembers Patrick too, that loved and knew Jeannie because he was in charge of her StreamYard show. Yeah. And Patrick, it triggered. He said, let's do a whole thing with Jeff. And I think that's going to happen, Jeff.
Yeah, yes,
we do. Got some great.
Well, I've been working on the lyrics.
Yeah,
So it's gonna be NSA meets Broadway. So we'll rework some of the old songs we did from Grease and from Wizard and Keynote Speaker of the Night needs to be updated though, because things like cassette tapes don't exist anymore, so you got to change the lyrics. But I have I don't know if I told you, but I don't sing obviously, so but just enough so I can get it across. But I figured we got to open up with a Broadway song, and something that maybe I can do, which is more talking than singing, that explains the premise of the whole night. I haven't showed this to you yet, have I? No. So I'll just do a little bit of it for you here, just give you a little hint. But if you can imagine from The Music Man, you got Trouble in River City.
Yeah.
Well, that's how I thought we would open it up. Friends, either you're closing your eyes to a situation you do not wish to acknowledge, or you're not aware of a caliber disaster indicated by the presence of Zoom speeches in our community. Well, you got trouble, my friends. I say we got trouble right here on the platform. Well, I sure am a speaker, mighty proud to say. I'm always mighty proud to say it. I consider the hours I spend with a mic in my hand are golden. Help me cultivate branding and an audience bond and big fees. Ever speak on a tiny little screen and a tiny little grid like the Brady Bunch? Well, just as I say, it takes experience to make a good keynote speech. I said a fool with a headset can do a TED Talk, and I call that sad. The first big steps to the road to the depths of lower fees. I say first, speaking from a green screen, then Zoom or WebEx. And the next thing, it goes on, but get the whole thing down. But rhyme, a capital T, it rhymes with Z, it stands for Zoom. So Zoom is the enemy, because every time, when we used to speak on stage, we'd get pretty good fees, and now they want to do it on Zoom for like a fraction of it. So I say Zoom is the enemy. Like today.
Let me tell you what, that song, when you hear it performed, that's a dang hard song.
It is very difficult.
Yeah.
I memorized the original years ago. So I just need to get the right lyrics and the right meter, right pacing to fit the karaoke music or whatever, the background music. It's a tough one. But it's a perfect kind of song for letting go. And then the ending song is going to be something about "Can You Hear the People Sing" from Les Miserables. Where we get the whole group.
Yeah. That one? Is that Lion King? Oh, Can You Hear the People Sing? Oh, yeah, from Les Miserables.
I also got a Lion King song for you.
Yeah. Did you send me a song from Les Mis? And it was "On My Own, I Have No One to," something like that. Isn't it "On My Own" that you sent to me?
I didn't finish that one. I started to do this one. I thought it'd be the ending song. Will the meeting planner searching for topics to present when they're looking for a motivator for their next event? When the topic that you do matches the topic that they need, then you'll book the gig and then they'll pay your fee. Will they listen to your podcast? Will they land on your homepage? Beyond the YouTube posting, will they see you up on stage? With your ad in Google, will they click or choose to engage? And then the chorus comes in, will the meeting planner search? It goes on and on. So we'll get everybody involved. So we're still working on that. And I got the Lion King song in there about a humorist trying to build his career and her career. And what other songs do I got? A few others. So I'm still working on it.
I love that. Also, on top of all that, which totally amazes me that you can do that, tell about the funny books that you wrote. I think I'm telling you, you're probably one of the most creative people I've ever met.
Well, it started as a joke. My best friend, who I've known since kindergarten, is a CPA, an accountant, and he hates it. He's miserable. So I self-published a few books on Amazon using, at the time it's called CreateSpace. That was their self-publishing thing.
Right.
And so I created this book for him for his birthday. As a surprise, put his picture on the cover. All the Reasons I Love Being an Accountant by my friend's name. And it's a real book. I actually published it on Amazon, and you upload it the right format, and you design the cover and the whole thing. And I call him up and I say, I got a new book coming out, and I wish could you kind of go through it and make sure it's grammatically correct. He goes, yeah, no problem. So I ship him a case of books. And the other thing I did is I sent a press release. He lives in Fort Wayne, Indiana, where we grew up. I sent a press release to the 2 major newspapers there announcing the local author has a book published, which was true. And it made the paper. So all his clients are calling him up about his new book, and some of them are buying the book, and he opens it up, and All the Reasons I Love Being an Accountant, it's 130 blank pages. Because there's no reasons, And he's given his clients refunds out of his pocket because he was so embarrassed by it. But I had the format down. So then I started doing it for some other things, like, in Columbus, Ohio, where I had moved to, the big rivalry is between Ohio State University and Michigan. So All the Reasons Michigan is better than Ohio State. And I came out for that game. And of course, it's 130 blank pages, and it made the Channel 6 news because people were buying that one. And then I started doing it for other things too. So it's like I got like 30 of them on Amazon right now. So a lot of rivalry books, All the Reasons Dogs Are Better Than Cats, All the Reasons Army's Better Than Navy, LSU versus Crimson Tide. So, so around the holidays, I get a pretty good royalty payment every once in a while. So.
I was telling Patrick about that. And of course, he has, along with his speaking like you, he has developed another profession because he has children. He has to put through college, and we know that drill. And so he works with a company called Lawmark. And I was telling him about your book with the blank pages, and their biggest competitor is Roundup. So you can imagine, he said, oh, I'm going to do that. 100 reasons why we're, our competitor is better than us, or so to speak.
All the Reasons used to buy Roundup versus us.
Yeah. That's
and I told him I got the template done. So just send me all the information. I told him I'd do it for him.
Oh, so that's awesome.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's an actual, it gets published, it gets a ISBN number, it's on Amazon. I mean, nobody buys it, but it's on it. But the thing is, you can buy them as an author. You can buy them cheap. It's like $2 a copy.
Oh, $2. And you know what else is blank? So you can use it as a notepad. I mean, you really could. I mean,
you could.
People.
Kind of a waste of paper, but yeah,
that's true. But I mean, one time, a good friend of mine gave me a journal, and I didn't know, and I didn't know I'd never gotten a journal, and I had a diary when I was little. But I remember I opened it up and I said, "Should I tell her? These pages are blank." I didn't realize it was a journal. So it's so funny. I love that.
Oh, I mean, if you go on Amazon and you look at some of the reviews of my book, there's one really bad one that said, I bought this book and all the pages were blank. And then I sort of responded and said, you idiot, did you read the description? It says the very first line in the description is this book is a joke. It's 120 blank pages. So I didn't feel like it was, I got 1 star out of 5 on that review. I was so proud of that one.
Sometimes those 1-star reviews kind of make your head go in a different direction, which is really, you learn what aggravates people. That works. I mean, you could also make a whole lot right now if you publish a book like 101 Reasons Why our Congress is so effective with no speaker, that kind of thing. If you take off on trends, it could be super funny, which sounds like it has a
lot of applications. Absolutely.
Well, the other thing
very easy to, what's even funnier is I said that the audio version's coming out. 30 minutes of silence.
I love that. So, I loved it. You sent me, because you're now, what you do and also with speaking is you have how many offices of the podiatry? How many?
We have, so I'm the COO of Kansas City Foot and Ankle. So I run the podiatry practice. We have 7 doctors, 30 employees in 4 locations. This is the largest one in the Kansas City area. And so that's like a real job. I hadn't had a real job in years and years. So I guess after
Well, you're
COVID,
prepared because you understand what it takes to have to be a good in everything in terms
yeah,
of you're a street fighter marketer. So you got it
exactly.
going. So the funny thing is, tell everybody about the Hold song. I love
Oh,
that.
okay.
You sent me
So one
that.
of the problems, okay, so fortunately we get a lot of inbound calls. I mean, everybody wants to go here and we're booked like 2, 3 weeks out. And the problem is they'll call and they're put on hold too long. And then we had a lot of complaints about it. And I'm trying to work some technology out and hire some people and fix it. In the meantime, they're going to be on hold. And what do they hear when they're on hold? This concerto that repeats over and over again. It's so annoying.
Yes, it
So,
is.
so I wrote a little script and recorded about an 8-minute on hold message about actually what I first did was I ran a survey of all the employees here. I said, give me your list of your favorite songs that are about feet or related to feet. And they came up with this big list of songs. So then we put together this on hold music and almost like a Casey Kasem top 40 kind of thing. It opens up with, while you're on hold, we're gonna share some of our favorite songs that are about or related to feet and important things you do with your feet, like walking and dancing. And first on that list, by Katrina and the Waves, it's "Walking on Sunshine." I'm walking on sunshine, and it just plays like 30 seconds. And then it goes to Footloose, and then it goes to Get on Your Feet, Gloria Estefan, and and this goes. There's like 8 different songs on there, and it's really a lot. And we had people call up and say, "No, put me back on hold. I want to hear this."
Well, you know what? That's such a great point because what I'm seeing is we've got so many things in this country that we need to find some humor, not to be so focused on the sad stuff, and as we age, I don't know about you, but you and I probably.
I'm not aging.
Oh, you're not aging. No, no, no. What is
No.
that?
This is a filter that makes me look this old.
Yeah, you got the reverse filter. Yeah, I got that.
Exactly.
Don't touch up my appearance. No. But I think people really and truly want to laugh. I mean, yesterday I had a nice group of women and they all just kept saying, we just so want to laugh more than ever. And I get that. And don't you see that in what you're doing now and what you still do on the platform? People just people like to have value. And I really do think the scales have tilted more after COVID, especially. They were only hiring people that brought real intentional value into the workplace. But now I'm seeing it going back to, we want to be entertained too. What are you seeing?
Well, they want to be entertained. Even in the workplace here, I mean, it's serious. We're in, healthcare profession, but it gets very stressful. And our people work very, very hard. And I want to make it a really nice environment for them as much as I can. Again, it's very serious, but at times, we want to show our appreciation. And like last week, this is my wife's idea. Last week, when the Powerball reached 1.5 billion, I think it was, I went and bought a ticket, took a picture of it, sent the picture to everybody at the office here and said, I bought a Powerball ticket for us as a group. When we win the $1.5 billion, it will be divided accordingly. The first million will go to the Kansas City Ballet, which we are the official podiatrists of the Kansas City Ballet. The second million will go to Challenge Air, which is another group that we support. And then $2 will go to Jeff to reimburse him for the ticket. The remaining, 1.57 whatever billion will be divided equally amongst everybody else, provided you show up for work the next day.
Oh yeah, you can't bail on me. Yeah.
Yeah. So they got a real big kick out of it, and of course we unfortunately didn't win, but I sent that little message out, and they got a little chuckle from it.
I love
those
that.
kind of little things like that.
People love that. People do. We've got a friend that was a dentist, and he lives in Minneapolis, and he had like 700 clients, and he just noticed the more as time went on, the morale in the office was terrible. And so he got all of his people to write down the clients that come in for treatment that they just don't like. And so he sent all these people a letter that was written by an attorney. And it simply said, we're not going to service you anymore. You need to find another dentist. And he got rid of a lot of his clients. I mean, a ton. And the morale in that office went sky high. Just simply because he wanted them to be like a family, a team. We're in this together. He said he couldn't believe how that affected the morale. And those kinds of things really, I mean, that was bold what he did. But like when I would speak in schools a lot, there was this woman and she was the principal of a little old school in Georgia, but she was very progressive. And she always wore red heels, and that's before red shoes were a thing. And I mean, she would do the nicest things for her teachers. And they became a school of excellence. And it was Dr. Burrell Meeks. I will never forget her. But like every Friday, they'd come in at like 7 a.m. or 6:30 or 6 or something. And she'd have a luncheon for them out of her own pocket just to tell them how much she loves and appreciates them. I tell you, that goes a long way. So
No,
did you find that you brought some of your Street Fighter marketing into what you do now?
Oh yeah, we like every once in a while, when maybe somebody calls in sick or all of a sudden you're understaffed and it's extra hard work and it's very stressful. And we had one day a couple months ago like that. And the boss says, "Hey, why don't we do something special, like bring in massage the next day or whatever, chair massages?" But we couldn't get anybody that fast. But Helene, my wife, said, "You know what? Why don't we have a mocktail party? It's like a cocktail party, but without alcohol, but the same mixes." And she handled the whole thing for me. She went out and bought like a Dollar Tree stemware. It's cheap stemware, but it's stemware and all the fixins. And you could have a pina colada or an old fashioned, everything, but no alcohol. And we mixed drinks for everybody, and everyone had a blast with it. And
Wow.
the whole thing cost like $20-$30. And Helene, who has experience as a bartender, did the mixing, and it was a lot of fun. And it was a way to thank the staff for surviving a really tough day the day before, and show their appreciation. So it doesn't have to cost a lot, but you can do little things like that are fun and people really appreciate.
I love that. So do you have anything for Halloween?
We're working on a pumpkin decorating contest, where each of the employees has the option of decorating, not carving, but decorating a pumpkin. The patients will vote for their favorite one. Prizes will be given.
Oh man. See, I tell you, those little things like that mean a whole lot. People remember that. So tell me what's in the future. Tell me when you look, and I also want to hear about your children, because you've had batches of litters.
Oh my gosh, it's been a journey. Well, the triplets just turned 18. They are graduating this year from high school. Two of the triplets, 2/3 of the triplets, are enrolled in a dual degree program here, where they actually attend their last 2 years at Johnson County Community College. So they will graduate. Right. They'll graduate with a high school diploma and an associate's degree, and all their credits are going to transfer to the University of Kansas. So they will get their bachelor's degrees 2 years before their peers and save me 2 years worth of tuition. So and they're doing well with that, and they're working. And so I got 4 at home, 2 back in Ohio, but they're all doing well. I've been very, very fortunate.
I'm on a college board, a community college board, and I remember we graduated about 10 high school students who were graduating with an associate's degree even before they graduated from high school because of the timing. And they entered Clemson University as juniors.
Exactly.
And saved a pile of money for their parents. That dual enrollment is the bomb. I'll tell you.
Plus,
it is.
They're 2 years ahead of their peers as far as job opportunities. So that extra 2 years, when you graduate with that kind of a program, you're graduating basically 2 years before everybody else, and you're working for those 2 years. So you are way ahead of the game. Not only do you have less cost or less debt, but 2 more earning years on top of it. So it's phenomenal.
It is great. And, my son, bless his heart, let's just say, he finished Clemson at 33. And he told me, he said, "Mama, I graduated in 4 presidents." Thank you, son. And Obama had 2 terms.
Well, during COVID, I went back and got my master's degree, university.
Did you?
Yes. So I had a brief 41-year hiatus from my bachelor's. I thought I was an adjunct professor teaching marketing at Avila University, Catholic University here. Thought maybe I want to be a full-time professor because kids could go here free. Well, turned out they weren't hiring full-time professors, but I went back for my master's anyway, and did it about a year, and it took about 18 months. And it was a blast. I mean, I really enjoyed it and learned some stuff. I could have taught half the classes myself, but So I got a master's in integrated marketing communications.
I bet you
So
could have taught that class. No kidding, because that Street Fighter marketing, that was, you were one of the first people that really thought kind of unusually about the what to call a marketing program. And
mhm.
a Street Fighter, I mean, that's just down and dirty. I mean, Terry Shodine has the scrappy thing, and so that served her well. But you're the first person I know that ever did something. That kind of stuff just sticks in your head. Street Fighter marketing. You go, oh, I get that immediately.
Well,
And
that's the marketing behind it, the positioning of the concept. So yeah.
that was great. I tell you, I've loved just, we've kept up. And when I started, like I said, doing these shows, I thought, dang, wouldn't Jeff be fun to come on? Just because I think that, the value of humor in your life, and you've used it. And when you had your two older kids, and then the triplets, and then you got a bonus. So how old is the bonus child?
She just turned 16. What she refers to herself as the fourth triplet. Always feeling she needs attention.
Well, Helene, what is she doing? Because I think I know, but I'm not positive.
She is a nanny.
I did not know that.
Yeah, she
I
loves
think
it. So she gets her baby fix every day. She got 3 little babies that she watches for two different families. And then while they're napping, she cooks dinner for the 2 families and us at their house, and then brings it home. But she's loving it. She just does that, and she also does some part-time projects for me, helping with recruiting and some of the like the mocktail party, that kind of stuff. She comes up with the pumpkin thing was her idea. So she comes up with a lot of really fun ideas, and she's good friends with the boss's wife. And the way I got the job, we met through mutual friends. And so it's been challenging, and probably the hardest work I've ever done, but a lot of fun, very rewarding.
Oh, that's great. Well, I just love the way you just keep being positive. And I know it's tough. I know that life can change on a dime. And then COVID was no fun, and having all the
Mhm.
kids to have to deal with. I can't imagine that. I mean, I had one in college because, like I said, definitely enjoyed being there, I guess. But, I remember he said, Mom, I don't think COVID's going to affect me. I said, sweetheart, it's going to affect everybody. And so, but, he likes online stuff. So it worked for him. But, it was hard. And you really, parenting during COVID had to have been difficult, because you got to
It
keep
is.
your kids, above water, and you got to keep encouraging them. And I know that Holmes had a job when he was at Clemson, and his roommate got cancer. Because you didn't know if COVID was coming in your house on a box. And so Holmes had to quit doing that. Then he started his own online stuff. I told somebody the other day, they said, what does he do? I said, I don't know, but it kind of worried me. We were at dinner the other night, and somebody said, Holmes, how tall are you? He said, I'm 6'4", but in heels, I'm 6'7". What does this child do?
Oh, it reminds me of a story. So I was in my office, and we were getting life insurance policies for the first time. This goes back a number of years. And in my office, there was a sofa. It's a nice sofa, but I was getting ready to get rid of it, to replace it. And the lady that comes in, she has to come in and weigh me and check my height and all this stuff to prepare her life insurance policy. And she says, that's a neat sofa. I said, you really like that? Yeah. And I was going to have to pay someone to take it out. I said, would you like it? She goes, yeah. How much do you want for it? I go, 6 inches. She goes, what? I said, well, if I was 6 inches taller based on my current weight, wouldn't my premium go down quite a bit? She goes, yeah. She goes, you can wear, so when I do this, you can wear any shoes you want for
Oh,
the weigh-in. They don't check that part, and that's fine. So I go to my wife, who was in the next office over. I said, let me borrow your heels. Louboutins, by the way. And I look
very
very
nice.
good in Louboutins. So and I'd never worn high heels. So I'm barely walking in these high heels. I step on the scale, and so I wasn't 6 inches, but I was like the tallest I'd ever been. And then the next day she came and took the sofa away for free. So I saved a fortune both times.
That's so funny. I'll tell you the truth. That reminds me too that Thomas hired this this very interesting person as his office manager. And we had a very sweet woman who was elderly. And when she'd answer the phone, it was like, uh-oh, is it her long financial group? And Thomas said, I got to get a new secretary. And I said, well, just let the doctors tell this wonderful person has been faithful to you. So anyway, I go out of town and I call the office and I get this, hello, financial. What can we do to meet your needs? And I said, it's Thomas. She went, oh, yeah. So I said, Thomas, who's that? He said, oh, that's my new secretary. I think she's going to add some excitement to the office. I said, what are you looking for? Turns out the woman was a stripper. She was a stripper. And I figured it out when Caroline was about 13 and she came home and she said, Mama, look what Daddy's new secretary gave me. And it was acrylic 6-inch heels with little goldfish swimming in the bottom. I said, my God, she's a stripper. And she was. And so anyway, I still got those shoes. How can you give away those? They're upstairs.
And how's your dancing?
It's good. It's good. Caroline, in fact, she was in South Carolina's Outstanding Young Woman. It was Junior Miss. And we bought this beautiful dress and it was too long. And I thought, I am not cutting that dress. It's just too much. It'd be too expensive. She said, but Mama, what am I going to wear? I said, get those stripper shoes. So that child was in.
Get a taller pole.
Yeah. So when she do those turns, those little sweet little high school girls in that pageant, everybody had on a little conservative. Here's some goldfish swimming in the acrylic shoes.
That's great.
She didn't win, but in my heart,
that's all that matters.
I have loved this, Jeff. We're coming up on an hour, and you have just entertained royally with the parodies, your creativeness, and how you bring humor into the workplace. I love that stuff. Is there anything else? Is there any website or anything I can share with folks for them to go to? And I know you mentioned the YouTube channel with the Frozen parody. Anything else?
If you want to hear the music on hold that we did for the office here, there is a link. If you go to kansascityfootandankle.com, and you'll find a link where you can you don't have to call in and be put on hold, because we've had requests for it. So you can listen to it, that 8-minute production, which actually was edited by my son, who was taking production in high school, put the whole thing together, by the way. So that might be kind of fun for people.
I think you sent me that link, didn't you?
I think I did, yeah. And then also go on Amazon, search Jeff Slutsky, and then you'll see some of my real books, but you'll see probably 25 or 30 of the fake ones on there. All the different ones are still on there. You can't. Matter of fact, you can't even pull them off. My buddy's still mad at me because he is still up there.
I think that's brilliant. I really do. I think that's one of the smartest things I've ever. And Amazon didn't flag it or anything, because Amazon's so weird about that. Because they changed from create space.
Well, you had to. You had to have. Yeah, they changed it, so you had to have some text on the actual pages. So
right.
in gray tones, I said this page intentionally blank because there are no reasons, and put that on all 130 pages, and that passed whatever AI thing was looking at, or bot thing was looking at it. So it made past the filter, so I could still publish.
Well, that is hilarious. It also gives people a lot of funny ideas they can do on their own. Big hug, honey. Give my hug to Helene and the 28 chaps.
I will do that. Hang on just a second. Sorry, I have someone on the phone.
No, that's okay. Can you imagine how many grandchildren you're going to have? It's probably 50.
I have no idea.
Oh, Lord. That's good. I'll just take one. I'll just take one, Caroline. She's next door.
There you go.
Big hug, honey. Love you.
Thank you.
Mwah.